Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. We've got play of props here on a Friday to end the work week for you guys. We've got 7 games to choose from here on Friday. Do know that we also have 12 games tomorrow on Saturday before a day off, before the start of the knockout round of this in-season tournament. So taking all that into consideration with a lot of teams on the front leg of a back-to-back, but do want to make sure you check this one out. And then obviously the best bets that we have up for you, the other video we bring you each and every weekday. Like and subscribe to that page. You can follow along all season. Also head to thelines.com. Use that prop finder tool. Make sure you're getting the best juice on all these props that you're betting on in the NBA this season. Nate, congrats on your welcoming to betting on Victor Wembanyama, which worked out for both of us. Thankfully for me, because he got a last-second rebound at the end when it didn't matter. But we press on here and get into your first play of prop.
Yeah, and I wish I had pivoted off Dinwiddie on the air when you told me Cam Thomas was playing last night. I was like, well, maybe still, but I probably could have just been like, oh, well, let's go under then, because Dinwiddie's
forget
was
everything I
just
said.
to him being out. But yeah, I'm going to try to get ahead of the curve here with Desmond Bane, who's been quiet lately. Memphis trying to switch some things up in terms of, different lineups. Derrick Rose starting, getting Bane off the ball more, so maybe he can get freed up and start scoring more. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but it's a very small sample in some not competitive games here. And now you get a great game environment at Dallas, a team that has, quote, stated wants to play in the 120s and has 2 guards who are completely score first, no defense. Alice allowing the 3rd most paint points, 3rd highest 2-point percentage, 11th most 3-point attempts. But Bane's actually getting a lot more going on the interior than at the 3-point line right now. Dallas also allowing 26 free throw attempts in their last 3, been playing particularly bad defense lately. And he scored 30 on them earlier this season. He's averaging 24, 7, and 5 in his last 4 against Dallas. So his core point bet here, 22.5 points, is juiced up a little bit. So I think you can split your unit between that and then ladder up to 25 points and get some plus money, because when you get into these situations with Dallas, the opposing star is going to do everything they can to match that Kai Ruka output. He could easily flirt with 30 points in this game again, like he did in the opener. I mean, obviously no Marcus Smart, no Ja Morant, not many other offensive options for Memphis. Derrick Rose at this stage of his career not going to play a ton of minutes, and Bane actually been pretty productive on the road lately when they've needed it even more. 6 of his last 7 gone 23 plus. That includes 23 in just 26 minutes in his last one at Houston. A very good Houston defense at home. So now he's elevated to 25 points per game and a 31 usage rate on the road. So if I'm saying he's going to hit his road average against a terrible defense, and you give me plus 115, I'll take that.
Well, yeah. What's 30? I like the sound of that too. Maybe
I think like plus 170 or so. Yeah.
It doesn't even climb that much.
No, you can get that for it's just plus 170 versus 115 for the 25.
Okay, I guess. Oh yeah, plus 1. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because the 22.5 is juiced down too, so that makes sense. Yeah, no, I like the find here. Honestly, I didn't really know how to hit this game, because I do think blowout factor is always a possibility when you have a team that can score pretty much at will right now with Luka, and a team that it's known for its defense, still missing a ton of guys. You're going to see plenty of Bismack Biyombo tonight, and that hasn't been great for Memphis, honestly. And Jaren Jackson Jr. still somewhat of a train wreck on offense, only leading to a higher usage for Bane. But I'm going to go, man, it's so funny. In best bets, I'm really realizing, and I realized it earlier, but I just pressed on. I took the Raptors to win by 1.5, and both of my player props are somewhat a fade of the Raptors. Let's get into it. Jakob Poeltl, under 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. It's really just about specific spots. For Poeltl, look, I mean, this isn't how you beat the Knicks. We spoke about it on the best bets video, why we both like Toronto, and why it was my favorite bet on the night for best bets in terms of sides, because the way that they beat the Knicks is not by crashing the boards with their giant Eastern European guy. It's with their quick and fast forwards and point forwards that they have all over the floor with Pascal and Scotty Barnes. And so he's going up against the best interior defense in the land. Let's be very clear. There is not another better interior defense. I don't want to hear anything about Cleveland right now. New York is limiting centers to the third fewest points per game, the fewest boards, and the third fewest assists. They really just don't let you have the ball in your hands. You've heard of Mitchell Robinson. He's having a historic season rebounding the ball, especially on the offensive side. But they're fourth in D rating and number one in defensive rebound percentage. And Pirtle does require, because of his low usage and the amount that he's really the fifth option, honestly, on offense when he's out there with the starters, they're not running anything through him. So, he needs those offensive rebounds and those putbacks where he does get a decent amount of second chance points, the most on the team, obviously. And this is a team that does try to crash the offensive boards a lot. Hasn't been as successful this year as they've been in the past, to be honest. They're outside the top 10 in terms of offensive rebounding, and even not as high as they normally are in second chance points. The Knicks are limiting you to in the paint. Like it's not going to be very easy down there. I'd like Julius Randle to get a lot of boards and take those things from Pirtle, who will be getting boxed out by Mitchell Robinson. They're number one at limiting second chance points as well, which obviously just correlates directly to that number one defensive rebound percentage for them. And really the thing about them is they do give up fast break points at least more than they do other things. And Toronto, in the 4 times that they played them last year, their 3 wins, they averaged almost 19 fast break points per game, which is what they're going to be looking to do once again here in this one against the Knicks, who give up the 12th fewest fast break points. It's like they're just so good everywhere. This is the only outlet that you really have, pun intended, in terms of outlet that you have to really get there. So with Pirtle scoring almost all of his points in the paint, he does have a decent rebound amount of rebound chances per game, but he's only at a 53% rebound percentage versus Mitch Rob, who's at a 62 rebound percentage on his rebound chances, and he gets a lot more of them. So lastly, Mitch Rob, just love looking it up every time. It's so easy to find. Defensive field goal percentage against him as far as his direct opponent. He is third best in terms of limiting field goal percentage inside of 5 feet. That's the only place that Pirtle really shoots from. So pretty bad matchup for him. We'll go under the 24 points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah, and he's like a 42% free throw shooter, and this is a black and blue game where everything's going to be earned, right? They're not, and the Knicks are not just going to let you lay it up on them. So I don't think Jakob Poeltl's going to be scoring 10 points tonight. That's not to say that your fade of the Knicks is not intact. It's not. I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh, the Raptors have no chance if they don't get 10 out of Jakob. That's not really how their offense flows.
You need more Pirtle.
So yeah, those are fine to go against each other. A couple looks here at the Celtics, who are going to be without Kristaps Porzingis. We talk about in the best bets. Josh likes Tatum, rebounds, assists. I don't mind it as well. I'll go with Derek White to keep producing at points and assists, not over 19.5. You can tack on 4 rebounds if you want. That's pretty much what his ceiling is in terms of rebounding, though, and his assist ceiling has really gone up lately. 18 assists his last 2 games with Porzingis out, up to a 35% assist rate versus 18% leading into it. I don't know. He has 4+ assists in 13 straight games. So it's not necessarily that like Porzingis out, White's going to see the ball that much more. It's just that he's become such a vital connective piece of this really good offense as the slash and kick guy. And they're doing more slash and kick without Porzingis because they have just more guards, more quickness out there. In his last 7 overall, averaging 15.5 points, 6 assists. That includes a 27-point outburst at Philly. Again, without Porzingis, he's had a lot of success against Philly in the regular season, averaging now 22 in his last 5, along with 4 assists. 4 of those were on the road. Celtics are historically good at home on offense, where White has 5.5 assists and a 130 individual offensive rating. So, it's just elevate the entire team and the pace and the flow of offense here, especially if Joel Embiid is out. I think that helps this become more of a freewheeling game where the Sixers' identity is Maxey, and then you get guards just going up and down on both ends. So that's my core bet here, and I was just tempted by the odds here for plus 160 for Papa Al to hit 3 threes. Again, with Porzingis out, with the Celtics on 2+ days rest, even a little bit more because they blew out the Bulls. You see Al play at least 31 minutes when they get 2 days rest last year. You saw him shoot 48% at home from the 3-point line, hitting 2.5 per game. And in his last 3 without the zinger here, 11 points per game. He has a 134 offensive rating. in his last three against Philly, and he hit 4 threes without Zinger out there in his last game against Philly. So I think it's worth a quarter unit, let's say, just because he could go 0 for 5, or he could go 4 for 8 again. That's the way Papa Al functions from the 3 point line.
And if Kristaps was in, I would probably target his threes, to be honest, because it's the strategy of the Celtics, which you called out, pull Embiid away from the basket. Simple as that. And any team with quality bigs and disciplined bigs like Kristaps and Papa Al would definitely have that be their game plan as well, with the giant dude down low who is the top five. Actually, I think he leads the league in defensive field goal percentage inside of 5 feet, which I was talking about with Mitch Rob. Only Joel is slightly better. So yeah, without him, with pulling him away from the basket always makes sense. I do like the 3 pointers, and I always love the Derek White stuff because just more and more, like you said, as you watch them, he is clearly the point guard more and more and more and more. And they keep trusting him with that role to like get in the half court offense specifically. It's him leading it when he's on the floor. So final bet here, another somewhat fade of the Raptors, but we still like them to win. Maybe a little negative correlation with Julius Randle's prop I'm giving you here over and the Raptors to win so that you can get a little bit more juice on your parlay if you put that together. But more importantly, over 30.5 points and rebounds combined for Julius Randle. I had to look at the stats repeatedly to make sure that I wasn't messing this up, but like he averages 40. Am I don't know. I was like, am I sure? Am I adding the assists? Like, am I doing this wrong? No, because he averages 14 and a half boards a game and he averages 26 and a half points per game. And you add those together and that's 40, which is 9 more than the 31 that we need him to get in this bet. So I'm going 1.2 units on this, Nate. He did this in all 4 last season. Those averages I mentioned for him against Toronto, those are him against Toronto last season in 4 games. In those 4 games, he averaged 22 rebound chances per game. And obviously gobbled them up at about a 65% rate so that he could get those 15 boards per game. He has a 28% usage rate against them with a very nice 9 free throw attempts per game. And this is all just about the game theory for the overall game theory and the impact that it has on Julius Randle and his impact on the game. So people guarding Julius Randle, because they're small, by the way, like Toronto, they're probably going to have to be playing a bit more Chris Boucher, almost said Bobby Boucher, and Precious Achua. And that's been the case. Precious Achua comes in and just gets pwned, if you will, by Julius Randle. Julius Randle's perfect, like ideal defender archetype is a dude who thinks he's a power forward who's versatile. And Julius Randle's like, you think you're a power forward who's versatile? I'm just going to put you under the basket because I'm stronger than every single versatile power forward in the league. There's very few power forwards that he's not stronger than. So that's been why he just sort of camps out down there. The assists are fluctuate. I mean, he has had decent assist numbers against them, but I'm not even really worried about that because when he gets down there, especially in this matchup, he's really just looking to cook and get his. There's nobody down there that scares him, even a Jakob Poeltl. So with those rebound chances, with those free throws, with the fact that he's facing a combination of Scotty Barnes as his primary defender and Precious Achua, and then guards like Gary Trent Jr. spent the third most amount of time on him in their matchups last season when you look at all 4 games. And all those guys, if it's Scotty, Pascal didn't even really guard him that much because 1, they're really not trying to get Pascal bruised on defense and as much as they need him on offense. And 2, Pascal ended up being the center in a number of lineups, and he was the one trying to box out Mitchell Robinson at that point, which left guys like Scotty Barnes on him. And Scotty is looking to be that guy leading the fast break, especially this season. All those guys that I mentioned that are these like point forwards that are responsible now for boxing out Julius Randle on the offensive glass for Julius, like all these guys are trying to get the defensive board and lead the break, right? So like they're not really there all the time to even get in his way for those rebounds. Mitchell Robinson's clearing everybody out, so all the rebound stuff for him is great. But I put the points in there as well because they are more likely to score from his spot on the floor than anywhere else.
Yeah, it's surprising that he's had that much success against Toronto. I mean, new coach, new regime here. We'll see if it happens. I mean, he has been successful on his last 2 back-to-backs, 25-9, 21-6. But I mean, it's interesting, this kind of like what I call the black and blue matchup, that does he actually thrive more in that type of thing? I mean, he's coming off a huge game against Detroit, which is another team that just stacks bigs down there, had 21-14 at Minnesota. So yeah, I mean, maybe he does enjoy that type of game where he could just muck it up, get to the free throw line, and like you said, yeah, assert his strength versus other guys who think they're down low players, but might not be ready to bang with Julius Randle.
Agreed. Yeah, let's give him a little bit of love there. But that is all the time we have for you in Play a Props. Definitely follow along. Continue to like and subscribe to that page. Check out the best bets we have. I should also mention we have NFL player props up for you guys this weekend for Week 13. Want to check those out? Coming off a pretty great week last week as well. So until we do see you next on Monday for the in-season tournament, happy betting.